Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Russia-US talks on Ukraine peace plan yield no breakthrough. Kremlin says no compromise reached on territory. Trump calls Ukraine conflict a mess. Dissent among US lawmakers as military continue to surge assets to the Caribbean. Lawmakers threaten vote on war powers. Trump warns US drug trafficking countries could face attack. Indian Navy will showcase its operational might across all domains as the force begins celebrations in Thiruvananthapuram ahead of the Navy Day. President Draupadi Murmu to grace the occasion. An India-I series win as they take on South Africa in second one-day international in Raipur today. Our top story first. Kremlin on Wednesday described the Ukraine peace talks as constructive but said no compromise had been reached on territorial questions. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said Russia and the United States did not clinch a compromise over peace in Ukraine and peace is no closer but also no further away. He described the discussions as constructive but acknowledged that differences remain over Ukraine. The comments came after talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner held nearly talks for 5 hours in Moscow.
The conversation was very useful, constructive and very meaningful. It lasted not for 5 minutes but for 5 hours. Naturally, we discussed with US colleagues the content of those drafts, those documents which the Americans submitted to Moscow some time ago. We went through these documents. We did not discuss any specific formulas, any specific American proposals. We could agree with certain things and the President confirmed this to his interlocutors. We criticized some things and the President did not hide a critical, even negative attitude to a number of proposals.
And just before the meeting, Putin warned Europe that Russia did not want a conflict with European powers but was ready to fight if Europe did want a direct conflict with Moscow.
We are not planning to fight Europe. I've said this 100 times. But if Europe suddenly decides to wage war against us and starts it, we are ready right now. There can be no doubt about that. The question is, if Europe starts a war with us, I believe that very quickly. This is not Ukraine. With Ukraine, we act in a surgical, careful way. You understand, right? It is not war in the full modern sense of the word. If Europe chooses to start a war, the situation can very quickly reach a point where there will be no one left for us to negotiate with.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said the conflict in Ukraine was a mess and is not an easy situation to resolve. Trump has repeatedly said he wants to end the conflict, but his efforts so far, including a summit with Putin in Alaska in August and meetings with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, have not yet brought peace.
As you know, we have a problem with a war that our people are trying to settle now with Russia and Ukraine. We are not involved in the war monetarily anymore. Biden gave away $350 billion like it was candy. That's a massive amount of money. And much of it in cash, a lot of it in equipment. I don't give away anything. We sell the equipment to NATO. The European nations pay us for the equipment, 100% price. And then they bring it to Ukraine or whatever they do with it. But we're trying to get that settled. I've settled 8 wars. This would be the 9th. And our people are over in Russia right now to see if we can get it settled. Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess. It's a war that never would have happened if I were president. Not even a chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years.
All right, DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh joins us for more on this from New Delhi. Good morning, Shubhendu. The Kremlin is calling the discussions constructive but says no breakthrough on territorial issues. How are these latest Russia-US talks being viewed? What's your reading? And also, any sense of what kept both sides from moving closer to a compromise?
Good morning, Abhishek. That's right. There appears to be no clear headway as far as the Ukraine peace negotiations between the US and the Russian sides are concerned. The US was represented by Trump's key envoy, Steve Witkoff, also his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, engaging with President Putin and his team to find some sort of a breakthrough as far as Ukraine conflict is concerned. Sources inform that the focus of the talks have been on two of the critical issues. One, the idea of territorial concession that must be given by Ukraine to end the conflict. And second, the future of Russia-United States economic partnership and the potential of that. And it is the first point, quite naturally, where the talks appear to be holding up. A long round of talks, about 5 hours, as you mentioned. We know that it all started with a certain 28-point Trump peace plan for Ukraine, highlight of which was that to end the conflict, some of the key concessions that Ukraine will have to give are territorial concessions. Crimea, that was annexed in 2014, and in the latest conflict in the past 3 years, the part of Luhansk and Donetsk region would be recognized as Russian territory. And there are other points about reducing the size of the armed forces and no membership in the NATO for Ukraine and other points. But it is really the question of sovereignty, the territorial sovereignty of Ukraine, where the talks appear to be holding up. When the proposal was revised in the Geneva talks, we learned that around the idea of territorial concession, Ukraine wanted to keep the idea open. These are territories, if you look at the realities of the battleground, controlled by Russia at the moment. About 20% of Ukrainian land is controlled by Russia. And Ukraine wants to keep this idea of territorial sovereignty open, if not completely in its favor. So in that sense, that's really at the center of the reason why these talks so far have not been able to make any significant breakthrough.
Also, Shubhendu, President Donald Trump described the conflict as a mess. Given the US efforts so far, the Alaska summit and then repeated meetings with President Zelenskyy, is there any sign of a new diplomatic track emerging?
Abhishek, the reading of President Donald Trump can be done in the manner in which the three parties are approaching this conflict. The first party, Russia, truly believes that it is, in fact, it has an upper hand. It almost is winning the conflict. It would like to end the conflict on that high note. Ukraine, it is a fight for survival and existence. For President Trump of the United States, it is really a matter of legacy. Each time he talks about the Ukraine conflict, he talks about one of the many conflicts that he may have put an end to. So the frustration that is growing more than for the future of Ukraine and Russia, it is for his own legacy. He would like to finish this off and focus on domestic priorities, but this conflict appears to be more challenging than he thought it would be initially. And now all eyes are on the manner in which a certain compromise would be approached by the key adversaries, Ukraine and Russia. But that seems quite difficult, given that they still have the energy to put forth that maximalist sort of position that we are right in this conflict and therefore our demands must be given priority. That really is the key hurdle in reaching any possible compromise so far.
Before we leave you, Shubhendu, looking ahead, what are the immediate diplomatic steps you think are expected from all three sides, Moscow, Washington and Kiev?
Diplomatic engagements continue, Abhishek. We were just talking about this, the round of talks that happened between the United States and Russia. We know that Europe and Ukraine negotiations and diplomatic exchanges have also intensified in the recent times, especially the manner in which US would like to keep Europe at an arm's distance as far as the resolution of this conflict is concerned. There are also parleys expected between the Ukrainian leadership, President Zelenskyy, and President Donald Trump. So each of these talks is throwing up a certain reality of what could be, what could form the end of the conflict. Really, it is only a matter of time, however much long it takes for all the parties to come to the same page. It seems very difficult at the moment. However, these rounds of talks, we'll have to wait and watch. At what stage do the parties come on the same page?
Yeah, no breakthrough so far. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your input, Shubhendu. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy thanked Ireland for its support during a visit to Dublin on Tuesday, telling lawmakers that unity among Ukraine's partners had become a main weapon in conflict. Speaking at the Irish Parliament, Zelenskyy said that Kiev was intensifying diplomatic efforts following meetings in the United States and was closer to peace than ever before. On his first official visit to Ireland, Irish Taoiseach Micheál Martin pledged further support to Ukraine, including an additional €100 million in funding for non-lethal military assistance and €25 million to aid Ukraine's energy infrastructure.
We have managed to unite the majority of the world, and that unity has become our main weapon in protecting life. And we have kept the world's attention, and that gives us time to resist Russia's attempts to destroy us. We are involving everyone we can in diplomatic efforts, and that is the best path forward. It is a great honor for me to stand here today in a country that understands the price of freedom, understands better than many in Europe, better than many in the world, and that shares our belief that every voice counts, every nation matters.
And US lawmakers who have long opposed President Donald Trump's aggressive approach to Venezuela warned on Tuesday that they will introduce a new resolution requiring a congressional vote if the administration launches a strike inside the country. Senators Tim Kaine, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff and Rand Paul said unauthorized military action would be dangerous and unacceptable. A separate House resolution was also filed to block any hostilities without congressional approval. Their concerns grew as US forces conducted over 20 strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats since September, killing more than 80 people. Lawmakers from both parties fear Trump is waging a months-long campaign without approval, especially after reports that a second strike ordered on survivors may violate international law. Moving on, US military activity intensified in the Caribbean on Tuesday with Navy ships and jets seen around Ponce, Puerto Rico. Reuters footage captured the USS Stockdale DDG-106 and USS Mahan DDG-72 docked at Puerto de las Americas, while military aircraft flew over Medellín International Airport. The increased presence comes as Washington maintains heavy pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. His prospects for a US-brokered safe exit have diminished after a brief call last month in which President Donald Trump dismissed most of his conditions. Trump has since declared Venezuela's entire airspace closed and Puerto Rico's military facilities are increasingly functioning at a strategic staging point for US operations related to the Venezuelan crisis. And US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Tuesday that the administration supports its military commanders' decisions in the recent operations targeting boats allegedly linked to Venezuelan drug traffickers. Speaking at a cabinet meeting with President Donald Trump, Hegseth noted that strikes have been temporarily paused because drug smuggling vessels have become harder to locate, but emphasized that operations against traffickers will resume.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Trump warned that any nation involved in sending illegal drugs into the United States could face military action, referring specifically to cocaine shipments from Colombia. The president said that anyone responsible for moving such drugs into the country is subject to attack, underscoring his administration's hardline approach to combating narcotics trafficking.
If they come in through a certain country or any country, or if we think they're building mills for whether it's fentanyl or cocaine. I hear Colombia, the country of Colombia, is making cocaine. They have cocaine manufacturing plants, okay? and then they sell us their cocaine. We appreciate that very much. But yeah, anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack.
Moving on, Pope Leo on Tuesday cautioned the Trump administration against trying to remove Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro through military action. Responding to questions about Trump's remarks on using force, Leo, the first US-born Pope, said it was preferable to pursue dialogue and apply pressure through non-military means, including economic measures. Speaking to reporters aboard his flight back from his first official trip abroad, which included Turkey and Lebanon, he noted that Washington should look for alternative paths to encourage political change if that is its intention.
It seems that there was a conversation on the phone between two presidents. On the other hand, there is this danger, the possibility of an operation, including an invasion of Venezuelan territory. I don't know more. I believe once again that it is better to find ways to have dialogue, maybe pressure, including economic pressure, but searching for other ways to change, if this is what the United States is willing to do.
Por un lado,
time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. India continues to provide humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka through air and sea under Operation Sagar Bandhu. Relief and rescue operations also underway. Pakistani leader Imran Khan is fine but mentally tortured, says sister, after meeting him in jail. And NATO foreign ministers meet to be held in Brussels on Wednesday.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya. Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories, updates on Cyclone Deta. Now, rescuers in Sri Lanka were still retrieving bodies from mud after last week's cyclone, the island's worst natural disaster in decades. Cyclone Deta lashed the country last week, bringing catastrophic floods and landslides that killed more than 460 people, left hundreds missing and damaged some 30,000 homes. Though the rain has stopped, recovery has just begun. The authorities have given top priority to reopening road access to the region, which is still supplied by air. More than 1 million people have been affected by the disaster, and President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has declared a state of emergency and appealed for international assistance. And India continues to undertake search, rescue and relief operations in Sri Lanka under Operation Sagar Bandhu. The National Disaster Response Force teams worked at Serawata and Nadigama areas near Colombo and rescued over 43 people so far. Further rescue efforts at the site are ongoing. With water levels at 8 to 10 feet and with strong flows, NDRF teams continue to save the most vulnerable and ensure every life is brought to safety. In continuation of ongoing relief efforts, an Indian Air Force C-17 airlifted a para-field hospital with equipment and 73 medical personnel from Agra to Colombo on Tuesday. IAF Mi-17 helicopters transported 8,250 kilograms of essential supplies and evacuated 60 survivors and 5 children, including 3 Australian and 2 German nationals, along with critically ill patients and a pregnant woman. IAF remains steadfast in delivering timely and effective humanitarian assistance and disaster relief support. As part of India's commitment of Neighbourhood First, special contingent of Indian Army has reached Sri Lanka to undertake the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. The contingent from Shatrujit Brigade will provide critical relief, restore essential services and support families in Sri Lanka affected by Cyclone Deta. The mission embodies India's civilizational pledge of Vasudev Kutumbakam, the world is one family, as the Indian Army stands firmly with Sri Lanka in its hour of need. All right, Dr. Ahmed Moin Farooqi joins us from Colombo to give us the latest on that. Dr. Farooqi, what's the latest on the ground on the rescue operations, and what are local officials saying about the scale of damage and the immediate needs on the ground?
Abhishek, you see, the scale of damage has been huge with regard to the way we are seeing the roads being damaged, the bridges being completely destroyed. There are many places where power lines were down, and even the telecommunication networks are down even now. In fact, the government has prioritized communication to be restored, that is to be as one of the priorities, and secondly, the road network to again be restored. As we speak, there are still many places which are still inundated because of the floods, and the government has announced that 22 districts out of 25 in the entire island of Sri Lanka are disaster hit, and they require special assistance. So given all these circumstances, there are regions which are still flood hit and still reeling under the inundation and the rise in water levels. That is one part of it. The second part is that on many muddy and slopey regions where the soil is loose, there is a risk of landslides, which is even now threatening many regions. So the priority has been to evacuate these people as of now from these landslide prone areas. That is one. Secondly, to rescue and search and rescue and recover people who are stuck in places which are inundated and flood hit. So both of these things are happening simultaneously. At the same time, we must also realize that NDRF teams are doing their activity on one hand. Secondly, we have our Indian Air Force helicopters which are continuously they're conducting sorties, airlifting people from flood hit regions. Yesterday they airlifted from two different places, from Mandara Nuwara as well as from Port Malay, one place 17, another 24, which included heart patients as well as pregnant women. So whatever India has been doing is huge with regard to the way to rescue people from these flood hit regions as well as from the landslide prone places. But still, the entire island is still, there are many places in it which are grappling with struggles, and hopefully more relief material could be able to reach these cut-off regions once the road networks get re-established. That is one part of it which the government is trying in every which way to try to do it using alternate routes. Abhishek.
Dr. Farooqi, you have spoken about India's assistance, ongoing assistance to Sri Lanka. And India continues to undertake search, rescue and relief operations there under Operation Sagar Bandhu. Tell us, how are the Indian Air Force teams coordinating their efforts with local authorities in Sri Lanka?
See, most of the activities are hybrid, primarily because it has to be coordinated along with Sri Lankan Air Force. So the Sri Lankan Air Force is identifying the places where the most important relief or rescue needs to be conducted. Once the details from them is passed on the basis of the Disaster Management Center's details, then an incident command situation is created according to that. They proceed according to the guidelines of Sri Lankan Air Force, and then from there they are rescuing these people. So there are Sri Lankan Air Force personnel also alongside, they're working alongside Indian Air Force personnel, and it's a coordinated, well coordinated and structured kind of a response team that India has already put up there in with regard to the Air Force as well as with regard to the NDRF also. Even the NDRF is also conducting the operations, coordinating with the tri-forces of Sri Lanka on the basis of which is the most affected and where they could help save lives in a better manner. So this is all being done with association with the local authorities, with coordination with them, and they are taking the local authorities' help wherever it's required with regard to providing of additional equipment whenever there is necessity. Abhishek.
All right, Dr. Farooqi, thank you for the timing, but yes, we'll keep taking updates from you. Shifting focus now, Pakistani leader Imran Khan is fine but mentally tortured, says sister, after meeting him in jail as party cadres protest outside. The next report examines what happened through the day in politically volatile Pakistan on Tuesday.
The workers of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party staged protests outside the Islamabad High Court and reached the Adiala jail in Rawalpindi. Amid ongoing protest, Imran Khan's sister was allowed to meet him in Adiala jail. Imran Khan's sister Uzma Khanum said former Pakistan Prime Minister's health is fine, but he is being mentally tortured.
सेहत अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक है, मगर ज़िंदगी वो उन्होंने बड़े गुस्से में थे, कहते हैं कि हमें ये मेंटल टॉर्चर कर रहे हैं और सारा दिन कमरे में बंद, थोड़ा सा बाहर जब निकल सकते हैं, कोई किसी से कम्युनिकेशन नहीं.
The family and party members had been denied meetings for several weeks despite an earlier Islamabad High Court order permitting twice weekly visits. Authorities have enforced Section 144 in Islamabad and Rawalpindi as rumours about Imran Khan's health continued to circulate. However, Adiala jail officials have rejected all rumours and said he has not been moved from the prison. Jail authorities called the health-related rumours baseless. The conflict grew last week when the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa chief minister staged a sit-in outside Adiala jail. Imran Khan has been in prison since August 2023. He faces multiple corruption and terrorism cases after his ouster through a no-trust vote in 2022. Bureau Report, DD India.
Moving on, NATO foreign ministers meet will be held in Brussels on Wednesday for talks dominated by future of Ukraine and unease among allies over a US-backed peace plan. The meeting, one of only two formal ministerials on NATO's annual calendar, was expected to showcase unity as allies review progress since the Hague summit and begin preparing for the 2026 summit in Ankara. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will skip the key meeting with deputy attending in his place. Much of Wednesday's closed-door debate is expected to centre on the peace plan which European and Ukrainian officials have spent the past 2 weeks rewriting. European leaders insist that only Ukraine can decide on its own territories, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says security guarantees and preserving sovereignty are top priorities. Now, Israel received the remains of what is believed to be a deceased hostage from Hamas in Gaza via the Red Cross. In a statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that its forces in Gaza have received what it described as findings that would be taken into Israel for forensic testing. A convoy carrying the remains arrived at the country's National Forensic Institute for identification. The two remaining deceased hostages are Israeli police officer Ran Gwili and Thai national Sudisak Rintalak, both kidnapped during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. If confirmed as a hostage, this would leave the remains of one hostage still held in Gaza. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. A zoo in Venezuela has introduced two rare white lion cubs born as part of its preservation efforts. Native to South Africa, these lions are known for their larger size and distinctive white coats. The cubs' parents were brought to Venezuela in 2022 after being rescued from wildlife trafficking in Czech Republic, marking a hopeful milestone for conservation. A rare natural event is changing the look of Rio de Janeiro as talipot palms, a tree that blooms only once in their lives, are flowering around the city. At the city's botanical garden, 2 of the 3 palms are now in bloom, something that hasn't happened there since 2010. After they finish flowering, the trees will die, but new seedlings will grow and continue the cycle. The Louvre on Tuesday unveiled renovated galleries of 17th and 18th century Italian and Spanish paintings and unveiled its new gallery of the 5 continents. The space features more than 200 sculptures from Africa, the Americas, Asia, Europe and Oceania. The pieces come from the Louvre and partner museums after years of renovation. Nevada reached a milestone on Tuesday as a tree from the state was lit on the U.S. Capitol's West Lawn for the first time since the tradition began in 1964. a 9-year-old boy, Grady Armstrong, winner of the Capital Christmas Tree Essay Contest, joined officials to flip the switch of the 53-foot red fir nicknamed Silver Bell. Still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. Advocate Madhav Khurana has been appointed by the Union Home Ministry as a special public prosecutor for conducting trial and other matters in Delhi car blast case. Preparations on for Russian President Vladimir Putin's 2-day visit to India beginning Thursday. And CEC Ganesh Kumar to assume chairpersonship role of International IDEA today.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Russia-US talks on Ukraine peace plan yield no breakthrough. Kremlin says no compromise reached on territory. Trump calls Ukraine conflict a mess. Dissent among US lawmakers as military continue to surge assets to the Caribbean. Lawmakers threaten vote on war powers. Trump warns US drug trafficking countries could face attack. Indian Navy to showcase its operational might across all domains as the force begins celebrations in Thiruvananthapuram ahead of the Navy Day. President Draupadi Murmu to grace the occasion. An India-I series win as they take on South Africa in the second one-day international in Raipur today. Well, updates from winter session of the Indian Parliament now. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju said that the lower house will take up a debate on 150th anniversary of the national song Vande Mataram on Monday and electoral reforms on Tuesday next week. The decision was taken at an all-party meeting and a business advisory committee chaired by the Speaker of the lower house, Om Birla. The discussion on Vande Mataram will be held from Monday noon and the discussion on electoral reform from Tuesday noon. Prime Minister Modi will initiate the debate on 150 years of Vande Mataram. Minister Rijiju says that 10 hours each have been allotted to both the debates, adding that the duration could be extended if the House deems it fit.
The all-party floor leaders meeting called by Honorable Speaker was very fruitful, and we all agreed that there will be a special discussion on 150th anniversary of national song Vande Mataram on Monday. The discussion will start at 12 noon and the discussion will go on for the full day.
On the day 3 of the winter session, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Central Excise Amendment Bill 2025 for consideration and passage in the lower house. The bill was tabled in the House on Monday. Apart from the other legislative businesses, many papers will also be laid in both houses of the Parliament. And Shangamugam Beach in southern India's Thiruvananthapuram is all set to witness the grand celebrations of Indian Navy Day on Wednesday. President Draupadi Murmu will grace the Navy Day celebrations and witness the operational demonstration by the Indian Navy. Demonstrating Indian Navy's operational might, the celebration will feature a striking display of maritime power by warships, naval aircraft and submarine. High-speed maneuver by Hawks fighter jets, combat free fall and slithering demonstration showcasing synergy of land-sea operations and firings by warships would be the key highlights of the event. The operational demonstration aims to bring forth the indomitable spirit and core strength of Indian Navy as combat-ready, cohesive, Atmanirbhar, safeguarding seas for a Viksit Samriddh Bharat. The demonstration will highlight the maritime excellence of state-of-the-art indigenous platforms, proudly symbolizing Atmanirbhar Bharat. All right, updates on Delhi blast case now. The Union Home Ministry on Tuesday appointed senior advocate Madhav Khurana as the special public prosecutor for conducting trial and other matters in the case related to the November 10 car blast near the Red Fort. As per the government orders, Khurana has been appointed special public prosecutor for 3 years on behalf of the National Investigation Agency to conduct trial and other legal matters before the NIA Special Court and the Delhi High Court. 7 key accused have been arrested in the Red Fort blast case so far, while 73 witnesses, including those injured in the blast, have been examined by the NIA so far. And preparations are on for Russian President Vladimir Putin's 2-day visit to India beginning Thursday. The Kremlin spokesperson says that trade would figure high on the agenda of the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. Akhilesh Suman reports from New Delhi.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday said that during his upcoming visit to India, Russian President Vladimir Putin will discuss both bilateral and international issues with Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
India for us is a great partner, and we do hope that the visit of President Putin will be successful. As successful was the visit of Prime Minister Modi 1 year ago to Moscow. President and Prime Minister had a very good possibility to spend lots of hours together discussing the most sensitive issues of the global and regional agenda. We hope that this will be the case for New Delhi meeting the day after tomorrow.
Addressing a virtual press conference organized by Sputnik News, Peskov said there's vast potential for cooperation between India and Russia, ranging from small nuclear reactors and military equipment to various goods and services. Peskov reiterated that sanctions imposed on Russia by the US and the EU are illegal, as they have not been authorized by the United Nations. Peskov also said that Putin will also share a first-hand assessment of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and the efforts to resolve it.
We do appreciate the position and the stand of India vis-à-vis Ukrainian settlement and Ukrainian affair. We do appreciate the readiness of New Delhi to contribute to a search of peaceful solution in this very complicated conflict. And we do respect the position of Prime Minister Modi, and we do respect the possibility of exchanging information from the first hands between himself and our president, and we hope that this practice will continue.
Business leaders from both the countries will meet in Delhi to explore deeper business-to-business partnerships which could help narrow the trade imbalance which currently favors Russia. Akhilesh Suman's report, DD India.
Legacy of stable, time-tested partnership, the bond between Prime Minister Modi and President Vladimir Putin reflects the depth of this strategic partnership, strengthened further through annual summits and the 2+2 dialogue. The regular high-level engagement continues to drive cooperation across political, defense, economic and technological domains. In the next report, Mohammad Absarul Hassan explores new dimensions of India-Russia relations.
Russia has been a long-standing and time-tested partner for India. Under the strategic partnership, several institutionalized dialogue mechanisms operate at both political and official levels to ensure regular interaction and follow-up on cooperation activities. The bilateral relationship has remained strong and stable over the past 78 years. In December 2021, a new dimension to the bilateral cooperation was added with the first 2+2 dialogue.
Meetings of foreign and defense ministers of both countries started taking place alongside the summit-level talks between Prime Minister Modi and President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. So far, 22 annual summits have taken place alternatively in India and Russia. The last summit was held on July 8 and 9, 2024 in Moscow, and President Putin is set to visit India for the 23rd summit in New Delhi. Bilateral trade between India and Russia reached a record high of $68.7 billion in FY 2024-25. India's exports to Russia, $4.9 billion. India's imports from Russia, $63.8 billion. Major items of export from India include pharmaceuticals, organic and inorganic chemicals, iron and steel, and marine products. Major items of import from Russia include oil and petroleum products, vegetable oil, particularly sunflower oil, fertilizers, coking coal, precious stones, and metals. The primary mechanism at the government level for enhancing trade and economic cooperation is the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission for Trade, Economic, Scientific, and Cultural Cooperation. Intensifying the trade and economic relations has been identified as a priority area by both the leaders, who had set the targets of increasing bilateral investment to $50 billion by 2025 and bilateral trade to $100 billion by 2030. India has long-standing and wide-ranging cooperation with Russia in the field of defense. India-Russia military technical cooperation has evolved from a buyer-seller framework to one involving joint research, development and production of advanced defense technologies and systems. RM and Russian Defense Minister co-chaired the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation. INS Turshil was commissioned into Indian Navy in the presence of RM at the Yantar shipyard in Kaliningrad on 9th of December 2024. On 28 March to 2nd of April 2025, the bilateral naval exercise Indira 2025 between Indian and Russian navies was conducted in two phases: harbour phase at Chennai and sea phase in Bay of Bengal. Science and technology has played a key role in the bilateral India-Russia partnership, especially in the early days after India's independence. India and Russia work together on basic sciences, material science, mathematics, and cutting-edge areas like India's manned spaceflight program Gaganyaan, nanotechnologies, etc. India's only nuclear power plant established with another country is in Kundankulam in Tamil Nadu, which is established in collaboration with Russia. The bilateral cooperation is guided by the new roadmap for science, technology and innovation signed during the 21st Annual Summit in New Delhi in December 2021. In 2024, Prime Minister Modi was conferred upon Russia's highest state decoration, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, the first called, for Prime Minister's outstanding contribution to India-Russia ties. Apart from arms and trade, cultural ties from Russia's love for Indian movies to scholarship programs and tourism have helped the two nations to maintain strong relations despite ups and downs. Around 63,000 people of Indian origin live in Russia. Mohammad Absarul Hassan reports for DT India.
And India's Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar is set to take over as the President of the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance International IDEA on Wednesday in Stockholm, Sweden. Earlier, the Chief Election Commissioner arrived in Sweden, marking the beginning of his official engagements before assuming the chairship of the Council of Member States of International IDEA. Gyanesh Kumar later met with Secretary General of International IDEA, Dr. Kevin Casas Zamora. He briefed the Indian CEC about the agenda for the 34th session of the Council of Member States to be held on Wednesday. Chief Election Commissioner of India also unveiled the Shiva Nataraj plaque at the International IDEA headquarters in Sweden. The plaque was a gift from India at the founding of International IDEA 1995. For the first time in its history of 30 years, the group of 37 democratic countries of the world have invited India to chair the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA. This development is seen as a significant global recognition of the Election Commission of India and its workplace for consistently delivering independent, transparent and credible elections. And Thiruvannamalai city in Tamil Nadu will celebrate the Kartigai Deepam festival today. Inside the temple, priests are conducting elaborate rituals for the Mahadeepam, the large copper lamp vessel that will later be filled with ghee and cotton wicks and carried to the peak for the traditional lighting. The Deepam is central to the festival, symbolizing the manifestation of Lord Shiva as divine light. Still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. US President Donald Trump introduces White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett as a potential Federal Reserve chair at a White House meeting. India continue their unbeaten run and qualify for the quarterfinals of the Hockey Junior World Cup after beating Switzerland 5-0 in their final league match in Madurai. And on the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, we tell you about India's accessibility journey. Stay tuned.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. US President Donald Trump introduced White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett as a potential Federal Reserve chair at a White House meeting. Earlier, Trump said he would be announcing his selection for the next chair of the Federal Reserve early next year. In remarks at a cabinet meeting, Trump also said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent does not want that job. Financial markets have recently focused on National Economic Advisor and White House aide Kevin Hassett as the front runner. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. After clinching a thrilling 17-run victory in Ranchi, the KL Rahul-led Indian side now shifts focus to Raipur for the second one-day international against South Africa today. With the hosts eyeing a series clinching win, the Proteas will be determined to bounce back and restore momentum in this three-match series.
By 17 runs in a thriller in Ranchi during the first ODI. The second ODI international in Raipur on Wednesday. Led by Virat Kohli's 52nd ODI turn, India posted 349 for 8 after being invited to bat first. Despite finding themselves in a commanding position, the hosts were pushed hard by South Africa's spirited lower order before eventually restricting the visitors to 332. After resting for the first ODI, South Africa regular skipper Temba Bavuma and Keshav Maharaj are expected to return for the crucial second game. The Ranchi fixture also marked the strong return of the famed Rocco duo. While Kohli anchored the innings with a majestic turn, Rohit Sharma contributed a solid 57 runs. The match additionally set a new milestone. The pair have now featured in 392 international matches together, surpassing the long-standing record of Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid. Babuma feels facing an Indian side with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma is nothing new, but it does bolster the host.
Look, the inclusion of those two guys, it does bolster their team. Like we said at the start of the series, you got two guys who have a wealth of experience and a wealth of skill, and that can only benefit the team. So I mean, it's not something that we are not aware of. We played against. I mean, I think Rohit played 2007, the T20 World Cup. I was still in school then. So I mean, these guys have been around. So there's nothing new. These are world-class players.
One of India's biggest positives has been the emergence of Harshit Rana. Bowling with lively pace and discipline, Rana claimed 3 wickets in Ranchi, including 2 early strikes that put the Proteas on the back foot. He has now shown that not only he can be effective in hitting the pitch hard with the old ball, but also with the new ball. South Africa, meanwhile, will look to tighten up on the areas that caused them in the first match. With a deep batting lineup and Babuma's return to leadership, they will aim to replicate the strong performance that saw them excel in the recent Test series, and translate that momentum into the white ball format. Sports Desk, DD India.
And DD India's Narayan Singh joins us to talk more on this. Hi Narayan, rejuvenated by the presence of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, the Indian team finally hit back at South Africa for the first time in the bilateral series. But things expected to remain largely unchanged for India in the Raipur ODI, you think? Unless they want to experiment with Tilak Verma or Rishabh Pant in the batting lineup.
Good morning, Abhishek. If you take a look at the way India bounced back, especially after that, you mentioned that whitewash in the Test series, it's a good thing. As you mentioned, Rocco are also back. But I don't think that India will tinker with their combination, because giving just 2 matches or 1 match to players like Rituraj Gaikwad, I think that is not enough and not a justice for them. Because if you are preparing a team for the 2027 World Cup, you need to give at least 5-6 games to a single player, how he performs, and on the basis of that performance, he can be there in the World Cup. So I don't think there will be too much changes in the World Cup for this match for the India, because World Cup is a vision of the team India to win it. But I think the problem with India is that large, we can say, the pool of great talent in that lies with India. If you take Rishabh Pant, didn't play the first match. Still, Bumrah is rested for this ODI series. And many more names. Shreyas Iyer is not that. And despite of that, Tilak Verma, who played a fantastic knock in the final of the Asia Cup that helped India to win the Asia Cup against Pakistan in the final, he also didn't find a place in that team. So in that sense, we can say that it is also a headache for the selector whom to take, whom to not. But I think for this match, this series, because the series in the line, if India today wins the match, they win the series. So that is more important rather than experimenting at this point of time. And so I think they will go with that combination. And we know that toss will be crucial, as in the last match we saw India lost the 19th consecutive toss in the ODIs. I think that is going against India in many aspects, because at one point of time it was looking that India may lose the match the way Marco Jansen was batting. So that is India will look to win the toss and bat according to them or ball according to them as the situation demands in the Raipur. But all in all, India winning that match, I think it's a fantastic job, especially by Harshit Rana. And apart from that, kudos to our veterans, Rocco, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, the way they came back. And the most important thing is that they are not playing any format, only just ODI format. Despite of that, having no international match exposure to them, they are coming here. Same in the Australia, what they did. The last match, the only one match that India won, it was due to Rocco. And again here we are winning because of the veterans.
Yes, the match will start at 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs, Narayan. Hockey now. India continued their unbeaten run and qualified for the quarterfinal of the Hockey Junior World Cup after beating Switzerland 5-0 in their final league match in Madurai. Manmeet Singh and Shardanand Tiwari bagged a brace, while Arshdeep Singh netted India's other goal. India topped Pool B with 9 points from 3 games. They had beaten Chile and Oman in their first 2 matches and are yet to concede a goal in the tournament. India will face Belgium in the quarterfinal in Chennai on Friday. India have won the Junior Hockey World Cup twice, with their last triumph coming in 2016 when the tournament was held in Lucknow. And on the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, India renews its commitment to build an inclusive society, one where every citizen can access opportunities with dignity. Marking the day, the country also reflects on a key milestone in its accessibility journey, the launch of the Accessible India campaign, or Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, initiated exactly a decade ago in 2015. Esmo.
Every year, on the 3rd of December, nations across the world observe the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, an important reminder to break barriers, physical, social, and attitudinal. In India, the day carries added meaning. It was on this day in 2015 that the government launched the Accessible India campaign, a nationwide movement to create a universally accessible environment for persons with disabilities. The Accessible India campaign focuses on three key areas: making transportation systems accessible, including railway stations and airports; enhancing digital accessibility by upgrading government websites and online services; strengthening information and communication accessibility so every citizen can access essential services independently. The initiative has also accelerated digital accessibility, ensuring government websites meet global standards so that information is available to everyone without barriers. Training programs and sensitization workshops have further strengthened the ecosystem of support. As India marks nearly a decade of Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan or the Accessible India campaign, the message is very clear. Accessibility is not charity, but a right. And an inclusive nation is one that leaves no one behind. From ramps to rights, India's accessibility journey continues with renewed resolve. On International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the commitment to an inclusive tomorrow stands stronger than ever. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.